Okay, good evening. Today we'll be looking at Java 8 new features, such as functional interfaces and Lambda expressions, default and static interface methods, stream API for each method, Java time API. So first we're going to be starting by looking at functional interfaces and Lambda expressions. So, for better understanding of the relation between these two topics, we're gonna need to use a simple case. So we're gonna create an interface called action. Okay, this interface will have a single method called print for printing a message. And this is actually a functional interface. So basically, a functional interface is just an interface that has just one single method. And for Java 8, to ensure that your method will have just a single method, you can use an annotation similar to override. It's just a test annotation that tests that your interface provides just a single method. So if you try to declare a new method, it will give you an error, a syntax error that tells you to remove the second method or the first. The idea is just having just one single method in your interface. So this interface method can be implemented as any normal interface. So we're gonna see how we can implement it differently. So we're gonna have a test one. This test one will have an action instance. So we're gonna give it an action implementation. 1, for example. And we will be invoking the print method. And we will give it a message called hello world. And now we are gonna create our get implementation function. So the first implementation will be just a basic implementation. So it's gonna be just an anonymous class that will implement our method, which is action. Okay, just gonna implement the method print. Okay, for printing, we just use the console to print this message, for example. Okay, if we test this code, this will, of course, show. Okay, there is a miss return statement. Alright, we need to return it. Return. Okay, let's try again. Okay, now we have our message, hello world. So this is so standard, so normal, but it has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 lines of codes for just implementing an interface that has just one single method. And this is the problem that Lambda expressions came to solve, is because we already know that we have just a single method. So why we need to actually write this whole lines of code? With Lambda expressions, you can implement the interface action by just saying that there is an argument called message that I wanted to be used in a function called system.out.println message. And this is the Lambda expressions way. The syntax is so simple, very easy to understand, and very effective as well. So the argument here is this one. So we're passing this argument through this function to this function, and Lambda expression already knows that there is only one single method. So it knows that whatever you write here, it will be inside this method, and it will be the block of instructions that we will want to execute using the single method in your interface, which is print. So there's no need to write the new action, and you should override the prototype of the function and place in the block of code inside it. So Lambda expressions tells you, okay, I know your pain, we'll just need to pass the arguments an arrow and then your instruction or your instructions. So for example, if you want to write a whole uh, lines of instruction, you just need to use this, and you can use like that instruction 1, instruction 2, instruction 3, and so on. Okay, for us we have just one single instruction, so we'll leave it like that, and we will test it out. Implement 2, and we hope that it gives us the same output. Yes, so basically this is the same output as the first one. There is also a concept that named the reference method, action imp3, which is working if your method has only one argument, so you have not to specify even the argument, so you have to specify just the reference of the method like that. So this is not a static call, confusing with C++ static call. This is a call by reference in Java, so called from an object, not from a class, and we call just the method uh, that references, of course, print, that receives just a single argument, and this single argument will be passed automatically to this function here, because both has the same type of argument to pass. So the person or the injection is automatically provided. Sorry. Of course, if you have another, for example, another argument in your method, you just need to specify the wave. Of course, imagine a wave, our method has two arguments, and you want to pass them through a lambda expression, so you just need to make a list of a tuple of your arguments and pass them into your block of instructions of code. So basically that's all about Lambda expressions. So Lambda expressions are implementations of functional interfaces. And of course, functional interfaces are just a normal interfaces that has only one single method. And this is very useful, especially for some cases in Java that we're used to implement our interface, and our interface that has just one single method. For example, we're working on a G button, and this G button here that has an add action listener, and this action listener, it's also an interface that has just one just one method, so we can use just an event, and here we can use our instruction if we want, for example, to print something, for example, other than implementing the action performed the method inside. So that'll be all for the first feature introduced by Java 8, and thank you so much.